Okay. Okay. Okay, hey guys, and welcome to the DNA Sports Report along with Dave and Adam. I'm your host, Michelle Massalone. The AFC East teams have made a ton of changes so far, except for the Bills. The Jets, they may have the most, but which move was the best? Dave, we're going to start off with you.
Oh, I think going out and getting San Antonio Holmes for a 5th-round pick was by far the biggest surprise to me and the biggest deal that any team has made so far in this offseason, with the exception of the Dolphins getting Brandon Marshall. But, I'm a little hesitant to name the Jets the AFC's champs. They're adding a lot of egos to their team. And if they add Jason Taylor, it makes it even worse. The Jets are right in line to be like what the Washington Redskins were 5-6 years ago when they went out and spent all that money to add a lot of big names and egos, and they went 7-9, I believe. The Jets, I don't think really they made a lot of progress on paper, but when it comes down to a football standpoint, I don't really think they're going to do all that well. I think the Dolphins went out and got that solid receiver they've been looking for since, forever? When's the last time the Dolphins can say they've had a solid #1 receiver for their quarterback? It's been a long time, probably since Chris Chambers in his heyday. I think the Bills still haven't done anything, but I think the Dolphins were really the team that went out and they made the biggest move in the AFC East, Adam.
I gotta agree with you. Brandon Marshall, granted, he's not a very good character guy, not someone that you can rely on to be a good citizen, but he's a great football player on the other end of things. You even saw him in the Broncos last year. It was documented very heavily that him and the head coach, McDaniels, didn't get along, yet he still produced. Granted, he threw a couple temper tantrums in practice, made him look like he was like 2 years old. Oh. But when he goes onto the football field, he can create. He can catch. He can go to the distance. He's a fast runner. He's a good threat on the offensive end.
All right, well, what do you guys think about the Jets? Can you tell me a little bit about them?
The Jets, I really don't like their situation at quarterback. I think Mark Sanchez is a little too hyped. I'd like to see if he'll go into the sophomore slump a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how the defense reacts. Yeah, they're adding a lot of pieces on offense, but their defense needs work.
Yeah, I think their defense is actually, especially their secondary, is strong. They got Revis and camaraderie. But, the Jets, like I said before, their ego trip, they got LT, they got Santonio Holmes, who's going to be suspended for the first 4 games. You got Mark Sanchez, who likes eating hot dogs on the sideline. I really don't know about this team. With ego, character-wise, they're not such a good team. Again, will this affect them in the long run? I don't know. I mean, they're still going to beat the Bills both games, but I don't know. I guess we'll see once the season starts.
All right, well, with all the changes in the players, the personnel, there may be some changes in the rankings of the AFC East teams. Dave, how does the division look to you now?
I'm going to go – it's really tough to pick those – because you have 3 teams that can win the division. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's going to be Dolphins, Patriots, Jets, and then that other team, Buffalo. I don't even know if they're going to even win a game. But
put all the teams' names in a hat, with the exception of the Bills. Shake it up and then pick one. It's a toss-up.
Really?
Patriots are good. Dolphins got better. It's just a toss-up, with the exception of the Bills. I mean, the Bills will go nowhere. They're always rebuilding, and we bomb on them every week. But it's so true. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, now it's time for our DNA Sports mock draft. Dave and Adam will both take over as GMs for the team's first 10 picks. They will take their picks, and since the Bills picked 9th this year, we will also get to see who they think the Bills should take. So let's get the draft underway. Adam, for the first pick in the 2010 NFL Draft is the St. Louis Rams.
With the first pick in the NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Sam Bradford, Oklahoma. And they're going to do it. They need a quarterback. They were thinking, maybe we'll pick Ndamukong Suh, but they're going Sam Bradford.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the riskiest top picks since Jamarcus Russell was picked by the Raiders. I don't think necessarily the Rams want to pick Bradford. They want to trade that #1 pick, but they're not getting what they want for it. So I think they're going to go with the safe bet, get Sam Bradford. Maybe they can work a deal after the draft, but I think Sam Bradford definitely is, your next Rams quarterback, because they have A.J. Feely and Keith Null is their quarterbacks right now, and when's the last time any of those guys really produced anything? It's been a while. So I'm going to agree with you. Sam Bradford, quarterback, Oklahoma, to the Rams.
All right, Dave, we're going to stick with you. The Lions have the second pick.
I'm going with the Lions with the guy whose first name I can't pronounce. Do you know what his name is? Ndamukong Suh. He is, in my mind, he's number one on my board. He's the best player in the draft. The Rams pass up on him. I think the Lions snag him up all day. He's defensive tackle out of Nebraska. He's the best player, best NFL-ready player. A lot of teams are going to be salivating, seeing if they can trade up with the Lions to get this pick. But I think in the end, the Lions do pick him.
The Lions can't screw their draft up this year. Please don't pick a wide receiver. Pick the best player in the draft. Ndamukong Suh falls into your lap with the Rams picking Bradford. Obviously the best player in the draft and the best defensive end in college football.
Next on the clock is the Tampa Bay Bucks. Adam?
The Bucks would love to take Ndamukong Suh, but they're going to go with the next best thing in Gerald McCoy out of Texas. He's been compared to Warren Sapp, who also played for the Buccaneers. Pretty good player at defensive end. He's another one of those game changers on defense, so they go defensive end.
Yeah, like you said, Tampa Bay, they're going to be crossing their fingers over there that the Lions will go again, pick, like a Des Bryant wide receiver, another wide receiver. But, I think he's not going to fall them. I'm going to go again with McCoy, Oklahoma. He'll be finally at those Buccaneer fans forget about Warren Sapp, and I think he's another solid pick, but not quite as good as Suh is, but I think Gerald McCoy is your pick for the Buccaneers. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, the Redskins have the next pick. Dave, your choice.
Since the Redskins went out and got McNabb, they now think they're a team that can go out and win. One of their problems they have is the offensive line, so they're going to go take the tackle out of Oklahoma State, Russell Okenrung. He's a solid offensive line. In my mind, he's the second best offensive line in the draft, so I think it's him.
You said it all. They picked up McNabb, and now they need to protect their superstars, so they're going to go with Okung, yeah.
Well, the Chiefs are about to now pick. Adam, what's your selection?
I'm going to go Kansas City's going to go with the safety, Eric Berry out of Tennessee. Another great player out of Tennessee. He's a great safety. Kansas City struggled on a defense last year. Basically, whoever Kansas City played, they gave up a bunch of points, so they're going to go defense with Berry.
I'm going to disagree with you and say they need an offensive lineman. They're going to take tackle Brian Bogle out of Iowa because they need an offensive line to protect Matt Castle.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dave, it's also your turn with the Seahawks.
I'm going to go with the pick you chose for the Chiefs and say Eric Berry out of Tennessee. He's a hard-hitting, fast safety. I think the Seahawks need help in the secondary, so I think they go and they snag him up.
With Seattle, I'm going to go Trent Williams out of Oklahoma. It's interesting what Seattle's going to do with this pick, but if they do end up keeping it, they need to go offensive line. They're rebuilding, so they're going to go Trent Williams.
All right, Dave, this is the 7th pick, and it's the Cleveland Browns. What do you think?
Let's see. Cleveland, I have Earl Thomas. He's a good free safety for Cleveland. Reed for Baltimore is also in that conference, and Palomalu for Pitt. So
I'm going to go, Adam, with Cleveland's going to think Jimmy Clausen. They need a quarterback. They have Jake Delhomme, who you said is an interception monster. They don't really have Seneca Walser to back up. I'm going to say they snag up Jimmy Clausen while he's on the board.
Okay, the Oklahoma Raiders.
Joe Hayden, he's a cornerback out of Florida, another hard-hitting cornerback, and the Raiders need another defensive guy, so I think the Raiders go with him.
Oakland's always rebuilding. Bugala, the offensive lineman.
All right, Adam, the Bills, unfortunately. What do you think?
The Bills are going to go, please pick this. It's going to fall in your lap. Jimmy Clausen, he's too good to pass up at quarterback. You definitely need one. Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, in my mock draft, I had Cleveland taking Jimmy Clausen, so I'm going to think the Bills need offensive line. Trent Williams, and then trade back into the first round. You heard it here first. They get Tim Tebow late in the first round, so yeah.
All right, and last but not least, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 10th pick. Dave, go.
Jacksonville Jaguars needs help on the offense line as well. Bruce Campbell, probably one of the worst players in the draft. I'm not a big fan of him, but offensive tackle out of Maryland is.
Jags are going to try to trade down, but if they do keep the pick, they're going to go linebacker with McLean out of Alabama.
All right, well, guys, thank you for watching the show. That's all we have here for today on the DNA Sports Report. I've been your host, Michelle Mastalone, and alongside with Dave and Adam, we thank you for tuning in. And as always, just remember, when it comes to sports, it's in our blood.